The Liardes, when they came out, it was quite an interesting story. Liarde was going to be the chief magistrate in Sydney town. He came out with Caroline and his 9 children, and they came here and were becalmed in the bay. He got off and had a look at Melbourne and liked it so much that he went back to the ship and said to Caroline, "This is where we're staying." So he moved her into 3 specially made green baize tents onto the beach. He got back on the William Metcalfe with his second son Frederick and sailed to Sydney to put in a please explain to the governor. He left Caroline and 8 of the 9 children and Adam Orange, the first African black to come to Victoria. He went off to Sydney for 3 months. Most of the women that I talked to over the years have gone, "I would have slit his throat if he did that to me." But most of the men, when they see a picture of Caroline, said no wonder he left her on the beach. She stayed there for 3 months in some of Melbourne's worst weathers. We had a flood then in 1839 which wiped out most of Melbourne. She stayed, however, in these 2 green baize tents, although she was told to go into town and stay in town. She waited for her husband to come back to her. She paid £2 to 2 convicts who lived on the beach and did ship to shore. But of course, however, they took the £2 and went into the city of Melbourne and they drank beer until they couldn't stand up, and of course were unable to bring her son and her husband off the William Metcalfe. So Wilbraham purchased the lifeboat, or the whaleboat, off the William Metcalfe. And he thought this was a good idea to do ship to shore. The beach became known as Liardes Beach, and it is the Port Melbourne of today. He was one of the instigators of the first Princess Pier. His elder sons, Frank, Frederick and Hector, used to go around the bay because he was awarded the first mail run for Melbourne, or the first Royal Mail run, because they were quite a prominent family, and descend through the kings and queens of England. He then had the boys going around picking up mail from the ships that came into harbour, and in those days anything between 15 and 25 sailing ships a week came into the port of Melbourne, or to the new city of Melbourne. He then decided this was a good thing. He built a house there, turned it into a hotel. But one of the daughters, Josephine, wrote about this, and many years later, and said that Papa had no idea how to run a business and never asked for any money of the people that stayed there. And Mama couldn't run a house, all the children did the cooking, so it would have been an interesting life. The 2 older boys, of course, came around the bay. They came to Frankston, realised what area, a good area it was. Tried to grow wheat where Ballon Park Homestead is in 1843. That wasn't successful, but they knew of that when the land sales came up, or they knew of all the areas when the land sales came up in 54, and this was one of the reasons that they came back. Frederick had some other places also. Frank had some where Frankston Hospital is today. He also had another piece of land along Cranbourne Road. So quite a lot of the early pioneers had come to Melbourne, been out to the goldfields, either made a little bit of money or not, and decided to come into this area and build.
What inspires you to find out about the history of Frankston?
Well, what inspired me, first of all, I originally am English, although I've been 52 years this year. I've been in Frankston since 1960. I did history at school and first year of uni of history. I have always been interested in history, and I can trace my own family back for 500 years. So when I came to Frankston, in Australia at that particular time, we didn't take much interest in the history of Frankston or Australia even. It wasn't a prominent thing. Over the years, there wasn't much sort of written about Frankston, little bits all put together. But I'm a lace maker, bobbin lace maker, which is how they used to make lace before the machines came in. And I offered to do demonstration up at Ballon Park Homestead when they had Australia Day. They used to have a lot of crafts and demonstrating of different crafts, and I was taken in for the first time and dressed in costume, and of course that was what happened. I've been there ever since. I've been there for 26 years this year, president for 13. That's what really initiated me into the history of the place, and I've been researching it ever since. So I think if you live in an area, you need to know not only where it's going in the future, but where it's been in the past. Otherwise you can't love the area. I get very upset when people run down Frankston, because I think it's a wonderful place to live, and I've lived here all that time and never lived anywhere else virtually in Australia. So I just love the city and think it's well worth the accolades that it gets.